everyone, and welcome back to the FPL Family YouTube channel. Today I am joined by the lovely Anita from FPL Daily Updates. Anita, thanks so much for joining me to talk about your FPL team. Anita and I did some videos together last season looking at women in FPL, so it's great to have you back to talk about what you're doing ahead of this new season. So I've got on the screen for everyone to see your current draft for the new season. Talk to me about it. I think we should start with the goalkeepers, because that is the most amount of money I've seen in goalkeepers in any draft I've looked at so far.
So I think before I even talk about the goalkeepers, I have to talk about my approach this season, because last season I was taking a gamble at the start and it meant that I lost so many points in the first 6 weeks, and then I managed to kind of close that gap with people that I work with especially, but I was always chasing.
Yeah.
And so my mindset is I'm going for a really safe option, which is against what I do normally, and then I'm going to start to go wild maybe like
I love
3,
it.
4, when we have an idea of how they're playing, you know, and what the team's kind of setups will be. I know they're doing pre-season and so on, but we still may see changes to formation. So in terms of spending a lot of money in the goalkeeper position, I just want to be sure about things, because Areola had such a good season with Fulham.
Yeah.
It was going to be one of the two. And where I'm at right now, it's still going to be one of the two. I may change it and bring in a cheaper option. However, that really kind of screwed me over last season, because I could never ever play my second goalkeeper.
Yeah.
I was like, was it West Brom's one? Button? Or something like that? I can't remember.
Yeah.
So I could never ever play him. I never had like a sub goalie. And so with like Martinez, I think that he is probably one of the informed players going into the season, having won like La Copa America with Argentina. He's kind of on top of the world, and like he just missed out on like, was it the Golden Glove last season? Yeah.
He did. And I loved him in that penalty shootout. Like, I loved his confidence and the arrogance about him. Like, I was like, yes, that is exactly, as an FPL manager, that is what I want from my goalkeeper. I want someone who's like, yes, you're not getting this past me. Yeah. No,
and Aston Villa are investing in their team, albeit there may be some outgoing as well. But so it had to be him or Areola. I really liked Areola as well. Like, shame it was Fulham, but I'm glad he's still staying in the Premier League.
Yeah.
Like I said, I could still change one of them, but I know that I want to start with one of those two.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? Because I think, like, obviously the Areola one, I think he's a great goalkeeper. They've got another good goalkeeper there as well, so I do worry slightly about that in terms of rotation. Yeah, because I don't think we can really be really confident going into game week 1 as to who is it that gets trusted with that number 1 spot in that opening game week, because obviously Fabianski's been there a long time, got the relationship already built with the defenders. Will Areola come in and have that same thing? It's tough, I think, to pick between them. Whereas with Martinez, you kind of have that guaranteed, going to start at Aston Villa regardless of what else happens. You know that he's going to be there. The opening 3 fixtures are lovely as well for Aston Villa.
Exactly.
So if you're going with this...
I borderline wanted to triple up on them, but then I just held back. Like, don't do it. I'm not going to bring a defender in from Aston Villa. But yeah, no, definitely. You're right about the relationship. He's already established himself. Yeah. And Fabianski is their go-to. And obviously they're fighting on more fronts this season.
100%.
Having got that Europa League qualifications. So maybe that's why they brought Areola in, to see who will hold them in Europe and maybe the cup games as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think it's interesting, and it's interesting to see that you've kind of budgeted for 2, but one of them might drop down, because there are some really nice 4.5 options who will play. So you could go Gaeta, you could go Sanchez, and that will save you then either 0.5 or $1 million.
Kind of surprise. Yeah,
exactly.
Definitely,
and then of course that can be really well used across the rest of your team. Although actually, I think, when we look at your defence, there is an awful lot of budget in that defence. And again, it's different. And that's what I love about this team, is it's so different to anything I've looked at. Because a lot of people are kind of going, right, there's going to be a Liverpool defender because the fixtures are nice. There's going to be a Manchester United defender because the fixtures are nice. And then there's going to be 3 cheap, probably 4.5 rotating around options. Maybe you might go for a 5 or a 5.5 in there as well, just for kind of certainty, I guess. But you've gone, no, here's my heavy hitters. Like, so what we've got Trent, we've got Cancelo, both premiums. Then you've got a couple of 5.5s, and then Sufal at 5. So you've kind of got how much is that? That's like 7.
It's big money.
Yes, huge. It's a lot of budget. So talk me through that. Trent, I think, is an easy choice. Did you ever think about going with Robertson instead to save yourself a bit?
No, because I think we just saw the upturn towards the end of the season of what Trent brings. Obviously, he missed out on the Euros through injury.
Yeah.
So again, I'm going to be watching to see the news, to see what's going on. Is he nailed to start that first one? Do we think at least by the deadline? So yeah, I was always going to go for him. I think he's got more motivation to play now because he missed out on the Euros.
New contract too as well, right? So I think, having just signed his new contract, I've been watching a lot of Liverpool pre-season because, of course, the other half has got it on the TV. So actually, Trent looks like he's been on the weights. Like, he looks like he's really buffed up a bit in pre-season. He looks like he's got a point to prove, I think is kind of the best way to describe it. So, and of course, he's got the World Cup coming up, because that's the other thing, is normally we would kind of finish the Euros and go, right, let's rest away from international football. No, we've got World Cup next year. So they've got something to kind of play for again if they want to make Southgate's team for that. So, I mean, I agree with you. I think if you've got the budget, you go Trent. But I think if you haven't and you're really struggling, there's value in Robertson. You just might have to hide behind a sofa when Trent's marauding down the wing, because that could be a difficult watch. And then a Man City defender.
So he's the only one that I think could start.
Okay.
Because, Pep Roulette, we all know it. I was thinking about it. And their fixtures, what is it? It's tough at the beginning. I may bench Cancelo, to be fair, but it's Tottenham, and then it's Norwich, Arsenal, Leicester, Southampton, Chelsea. Yeah. I'm not sure. Because I've gone so heavy in my defence, I'm missing out on people like Fernandes.
Yeah.
Yeah, at the moment. But these are players that give me confidence. So I look at that and I'm feeling confident about them. Whereas last season I had your guy Eric Dyer there. I took real big gambles. Yeah, I took gambles all over the shop.
Oh.
I had him because I was like, he's going to be a definite starter. Mourinho loves him.
Yeah.
And then I thought you guys would park the bus. So I was thinking, you're not going to concede goals that much. But you were actually scoring many as well as conceding.
We were interesting, that's to say. I think it is fascinating, isn't it? Because I look at those. I had Diaz in my first draft. I had Diaz, and then I kind of talked myself out of it because the fixtures are so mixed in the beginning part of the season. And I was like, right, what do I see Man City doing in this early part of the season? Do I see them kind of keeping clean sheets? Because if you're going Diaz, you're going him for clean sheets.
Clean sheets.
If you're going Cancelo, then you've got the attacking threat that comes with that. So I think
you're
there's
hoping.
Yeah. So there's more potential upside for him. But I was kind of like, right, there's Spurs in there, there's Arsenal in there, there's Leicester in there, there's Chelsea in there.
It's a lot.
Could those 4 teams score? So Norwich game, I'm hiding because that's a nightmare to not be invested. Like, I'm gone. I'm not watching it. It's going to be 6, isn't it? It's going to be like 6 or 7-0. I've got none.
Yeah,
I've got none.
Yeah.
And in my current draft, I've got no City players, and because I'm looking at...
But you don't know who's going to start. This is the problem. We don't even know if your heart's going to be broken before you start, before the first game week.
I know.
There's just too many variables there at the moment.
Honestly, Anita, it's a nightmare. And I think for that reason, I've kind of gone, right, first 5 game weeks, I'm out. And I'm going to have to ride my luck and hope for the best. And then game week 6, when it all takes a turn for the better, I'm in. And I'll go fully in on City at that point, because we know where Kane is then. Looks like, from what we're hearing today, that Grealish, and we'll talk about him in a minute, but that he's going to go. So we've got a bit more certainty there. But we also then have the uncertainty around players like Gundogan, because if you're going to get all these attacking players, where's Gundo going to play? Surely not as attacking.
And or is he going to go back to that role that we all knew him to play, more defensive mid, and not have the freedom to go forward as much?
Yeah.
Because it was through KDB's injury that we then
100%.
saw this. Well, the potential that Pep's always spoken about, that he said he saw, and I guess they saw in the Bundesliga.
But it's a nightmare.
So it's whether...
it's like the roulette is bad. It's always bad. But this year it feels worse because suddenly it's like, well, where's Sterling going to play? Is he even going to be at City? Then we've got Mahrez, who is having the pre-season of his life, but that probably means Pep just benches him for game week 1 because that's what tends to happen. So, and then Foden obviously went long with England. So did Grealish, went long with England.
And he had picked up that kind of knock, didn't he? So, so it's just...
So I guess we find out a bit more with the Community Shield. So that will give us a little bit more kind of insight into Manchester City. And that's one thing that I'm kind of keeping my eye out on. But it's tough. And then you've got the other side of Manchester covered with Shaw, who I think is an absolutely essential pick, I've got to be honest. I can't see him going anywhere until game week 7 when the fixtures look awful for Manchester United. But that's 7 game weeks down the line. And Luke Shaw is the kind of player that he could get attacking returns as much as he can get a clean sheet. So I think he's great.
I missed out on him last season. So that's also where, like, I guess the sensible element is coming in my defence.
Yeah.
Because in attack, I had people like Mopai. I told you I went a bit rogue. I was picking, but it worked for me. Mopai actually had a really good start to last season.
Yeah, he did.
So I managed to, like, bank those points, and I think I got rid of him around maybe game week 9 when he started to have a dip or something.
Yeah.
But in terms of defence, like I said, I went for Dyer. I can't remember who else was in my first game week.
Do you know, I'm thinking back, I've got a feeling I had Eric Dyer in my game week 1 team as well. Because Spurs had a really nice start to the season last year.
They did.
And then we all panicked because we lost 1-0 to Everton in the opening fixture and we all threw our toys out the pram. Son got mass transferred out ahead of then the massive returns he got against Southampton in game week 2.
Basically roller coaster with him. And then he went and scored loads and then quiet again another game. Yeah. So also, speaking of your team, because you've got a new manager in.
Yep.
And we know I'm so confused with Spurs. I'm confused with us. I'm just confused with these North London teams, to be honest, because my understanding is that you wanted a manager who would bring a certain style of play.
Yeah.
But from what we've seen in Nuno, he's very defence-minded.
It's
I like him, though. I really like it. I like what he did with Wolves. Last season was a
It's really interesting, the Nuno thing, because when he announced that he and Wolves were parting company back in May, I said to Lee, that's the new Spurs manager right there. And Lee went, don't be ridiculous. Because at this point we were being... Yeah, because we were being linked with all these different managers. And I was like, I guarantee you we'll end up being managed by Nuno. And Lee was like, why? And I was like, because I think he's exactly what we need. He's going to strengthen the defence and he's going to build the youngsters. And we've got some quality youngsters in that squad. Fast forward 70 odd days of nonsense and then Nuno comes in, and at the time I was like, safe pair of hands for a few years till what is looking, in my opinion, to be guaranteed reunion with Poch at some point in the future. It seems like that is going to happen, maybe in 5 or 6 years, who knows. But I was like, Nuno seems great as a saving point, but what we've seen in pre-season with Spurs is they're not defending, like they're attacking. They're not even playing counter-attack football anymore. So this is like Nuno going from one extreme with Wolves to another, because now they're like, the players, Tanganga did an interview where he said, I've been told to attack. And it's like, have you? That's interesting.
This is not what we expected.
Because I wasn't
on the script,
No. So suddenly I'm like, okay, well, what does that mean for like Reguilon? Because at his price point, got some really nice fixtures, not Manchester City.
Loves going forward.
Exactly. So I think there's definitely scope at Spurs, not from game week 1 because of Manchester City, and of course it's going to depend what happens in the next couple of weeks with the Kane saga, because either Kane's there or he's not. I actually, weirdly, as a Spurs fan, I don't mind whether he stays or goes. I'm in that kind of camp. I kind of think when a player wants to leave, it's okay to let them leave, particularly if you're going to bring in 100+ million, which we could invest wisely across the rest of the squad, and Son's staying, and there's some other quality players there. So we'll have to see what happens with Spurs. So I'm avoiding them for game week 1. But then game week 2, 3, 4 look nice. Then, of course, London derbies with Arsenal and Chelsea, that's always... But they're always nuts, aren't they? Like, it's not like you wouldn't avoid Spurs for that, because anything could happen. They're always bonkers. And then after that, the Spurs fixtures are really nice. So it's kind of like, if you wait it out a 1 or 2 weeks, get yourself an understanding of what's happening, then invest, it feels better. Plus, hopefully, we won't have the terrible start that we did in game week 1 last time around. But hey ho, enough about Spurs. Let's talk about the midfield because you've said no Bruno.
Sorry, picking up on what you said. It's those like. The reason why I went so heavy in defense is because I want to give myself like game week 1, game week 2, like as a buffer period to see.
It's a good idea.
Because I played my wild card, when was it? October, November, I think.
Yeah.
And it just went downhill for a while again. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to wait until, ideally I'd like to wait until December time to play it. But I don't know. So this just gives me a buffer, and then I can always release that money to invest elsewhere. Of course, it may mean that I have to take a 4-point hit or whatever. But I think for me, that's why. But yeah, sorry, I don't have Fernandes. That makes me a bit concerned as well because he's got good fixtures. I brought in Grealish. I know people will say he was with the England camp, but he didn't play that much.
No, he didn't.
And with his injury, we saw that it was like him and Dean Smith were like, well, Dean Smith was more like, he'll play if he feels okay. So it was like, all the cards were with Grealish. So I think that he'd naturally feel okay and he'd want to start were he to stay in the team. So that's why I opted for him. And they have a decent start to the season as well.
And of course, if he doesn't, which is looking like he won't, you've got yourself a £100 million Man City midfielder who you would think at that price point should be more guaranteed to start. Yeah. For a much cheaper price tag than you would have to pay for a lot of the other Manchester City players. So I think Grealish could be the key to unlocking Manchester City because of the value that he gives us. But like you say, if he doesn't go, with the 3 Aston Villa fixtures that they are in game weeks 1, 2 and 3, it really doesn't matter because you've got a really nice player that you can have then. I think he is going to go. It looks ever so likely. I can't see it stopping now, but... Yeah. I do think he's a nice pick. And this is the thing about this team is I'm looking at it thinking it looks really great. I mean, that defence looks fabulous, but not having Bruno for those first 6 game weeks.
It makes me nervous.
I would be hiding behind the sofa, I think, because I look at him and I just think...
turn off my phone.
Yeah, because you've got he's got penalties in his locker. Manchester United seem to have just... I don't know where all this money's come from for these new players that they're signing, but they've strengthened every aspect of their team. Everything feels like it's moving in a really positive way at Manchester United. The kind of Ollie bandwagon is definitely back with momentum again going into this season.
Definitely.
And I'm
like I said, I have Fernandes and Cavani written down because those are the 2 that I'd feel safe picking alongside Shaw. Yeah. Because with these new additions, I'm not convinced that I know what Ollie's going to do with them. Like with Sancho's involvement, and Greenwood. Greenwood's so good. Is he still going to be able to play as much? Pogba as well coming back. And there's too much variety. And like I said, I want to try and be calm for the first 2 weeks, hopefully roll over a transfer.
Yes.
And then I've got 2, after game week 2, and then can start doing, the little changes.
Yeah, that's what I love that. That's the thing I always try for. Get through game week 1, knowing your team's ready for game week 2, don't touch it, have a transfer, go into game week 3 with 2, knowing that you only need a hit then to get you 3 transfers, and at that point you've almost got a little mini wild card, so that can hold your wild card that bit longer then, because of course we've got international break game week 4 and then again game week 8, so we've got plenty of opportunities for kind of tinkering. But I think you're right, setting it up early feels like the right thing to do. And then you've got Rafinha, who I think is a lovely pick. Fixtures are they're all right. Yeah, they're okay, but I think we saw last season that actually Leeds are better often against the clubs that you would go, this is not a great fixture.
When the odds are against them, all of a sudden they pull it out the bag, and you're like, oh my God, why didn't I have that? So why didn't I have
Why bench them?
Why didn't I have Bamford? Or you benched them because you were trying to be sensible. So,
like when I benched Dallas against Man City and he got 2 goals. Like, what's that about? And then I sold him that week after, and then he got another brace, didn't he? Like 2 games later. It's like you can't odds it, and that's the thing with Leeds is that you often play them in these really nice fixtures, and they don't really do a lot. But then you put them into these big games, and they do loads. And I do also think that the fact that Leeds have got fans back for the first, well, they had them for the end of last season, didn't they? But this is proper fans in stands in the Premier League again. That's massive for them.
It's going to be, almost like a fortress. They're going to make it so uncomfortable for opposition teams.
Yeah. And as the Arsenal expert amongst us, let's talk about Smith Rowe, because I think that Arsenal are actually being a bit, and this is coming from a Spurs fan, but a bit criminally overlooked in this pre-season, because I'm looking at this Arsenal team thinking, I wouldn't necessarily want to go Aubameyang, but there's loads of other players that you can go and they're cheap.
I had him. Sorry, I had him as well.
Last season.
Didn't we all have him for game week 1?
Yeah, and 2. You captained him.
Right?
Yeah, we did. And I'm not going there again. But I look at the rest of the Arsenal team and I'm like, Smith Rowe, great. Saka, if you've got a bit more money, looks great. I think Ben White is the smartest signing that Arsenal have made in a very, very long time. Pepe even could be a massive differential this season if you go there, if you've got 7.5 million and you don't want to spend it on Mason Mount. Spending it on Pepe, the fixtures are mixed. There's a North London derby in the mix, but hey, it's a London derby, as we said before, anything can happen.
Yeah.
I really like the look of this Arsenal squad this year. I really do. And I think if Arteta can get the best out of the kids, and it was last season when he played the kids, that was when you were at your best.
Yeah.
Does it matter?
Like we saw on form in 2021, we were just behind Man City.
Yeah.
But just for my own heart, I tried to stay away from Arsenal players, but at that price range, because again I went so heavy in defence, Smith Rowe was one of the cheaper, more sensible options, because I think he's more fixed to start.
Yeah. Because
Arteta has spoken about his importance and so on, and we saw what he did with Odegaard. Like he had managed to play both of them. So I'm hoping he would be a starter from everything I've seen and read.
Yeah.
And he's so influential in that midfield, and he likes to get in the box. He drives forward. Yeah. Him and Saka. Whereas that my big grudge with Arsenal is that we're just passing side to side and no one's going forward. Yeah. So those two give you that kind of hope, I would say. So that's why I've gone for him. I didn't want any Arsenal player, if I'm honest, and I'd just like to be surprised and be like, oh, I don't have them. Great, you do your thing.
It never feels quite so bad, does it, when it's a player from your own team that's doing really well and you don't own them, because you've got the positive of, but they're my actual team. Like I remember when I didn't have Son against Southampton last season and he was going absolutely bonkers, there was part of me that was going, oh, my FPL team, what has happened? But there was another part of me that was going, I'm loving this game, so I don't really mind. But if you're not a fan, like I remember Lee not having Son in that game and being like, this is awful for that reason. And it was the same last season when I'd captained Aubameyang in game week 1 and Salah was going absolutely bonkers, and I was thinking, why have I trusted an Arsenal player? So I think
we all did. I think most of us did.
I know, it's madness. Let's talk about these front three then, because Antonio and Watkins I think are beautiful picks. Like Watkins especially after last season and at the price point that he's come in at. I was expecting Watkins to be a little bit more expensive than he is, so I was kind of pleasantly surprised to see him come in at 7.5. And Antonio, of course, with his hamstring issues, has now had a massive rest over the summer, and West Ham have got a real nice start to the season. Roughly until the Europa League starts, and then at that point things take a turn. But then with his hamstrings and the other issues that he has with his muscles, you might not want him whilst they're playing in those two competitions anyway. So if you can benefit from him now in these first few weeks,
fresh,
yeah, exactly. But Iheanacho is the interesting one that I want to talk about here, because obviously at the end of last season he was fantastic for Leicester in the absence of Harvey Barnes, who is now back. And so you would expect to go back into the Leicester starting 11. So what does that mean for Iheanacho? Is he going to play? Is he going to go back to the bench? They've now got Daka as well. How are they fitting in Nacho, Daka, Vardy, Maddison? Although he's been linked to move away from the club. So maybe that helps Nacho to get more game time. What do you think?
I mean, I don't know if he's going to maybe play him as like a super sub almost, like bring him on after half-time, 60th minute moment, because I think he did that a couple of times and he was really great in that kind of role, if you want. Ideally, like I said, Cavani is who I've got written down. I would like to go for him. I don't have the money. I've only got 0.5 million in the bank, so I need to free up somewhere else, and it's probably in defence, let's be real. So he was just someone that I thought, based on form towards the end of the season, he's got pre-season in him, you know, he didn't have to travel for competitions during the summer.
Which is very good point, because that's really helpful for a lot of these players, the ones that didn't go to the Euros. Obviously, have had longer in pre-season with their squads, particularly the new manager guys as well, because like the Spurs players, for example, that didn't go away with their teams on international duty. So like Reguilon, going back to him for a minute, didn't go away with Spain, hasn't gone to the Olympics, and has spent the whole of pre-season in Nuno's ear. So those sorts of players are the ones that I like, because they've had a full pre-season and they've not had to exert themselves.
Exactly. That's my thinking around it. But of my three, I would probably drop him for Cavani. Yeah. If I can free up money elsewhere.
All right, one more question then before I let you go, and it's probably going to be the same answer that everyone gives me. But if this squad stays as it is going into game week 1, who gets the armband?
It's a no-brainer. It is a no-brainer.
Do you know?
I avoided him at times during the season, and I paid a hefty. So I told you, my whole outlook is like caution, which is the complete antithesis of who I am in this game. I want to be like brave and go for the rogue approach, you know. But this one, like I said, ideally, we've spoken about this. We'll obviously talk as the season starts, but I would like to get to the end of game week 2, have 2 transfers in the bag, and potentially take a -4 hit, and then I've got that mini wildcard kind of option to start tinkering around.
Do you know, I was fully in the Salah camp. Then I had a wobble a little while ago. I was like, well, maybe I captain Bruno. And then I was like, let me look at Salah's stats. So I went back and I had a look, and then we've got a video coming out in a couple of weeks or a couple of days' time after this one comes out about captaincy and top picks for the week. And so I had a look at Salah, opening day Salah. So he has scored on the opening day of every season he's played for Liverpool. Not only that, if he scores again this time around, it will be the Premier League record for goals consecutively scored on your opening day. Couple that with the fact that for Klopp, on opening day, since he's arrived, Liverpool have always scored at least 3 goals on the opening fixture of the season. So they had...
had him. It's like, and Trent Alexander-Arnold,
you can't not, can you? Like, so they under Klopp 4 against Arsenal, 3 against Watford, 4 against West Ham, 4 against Norwich, 4 against Leeds. They're gonna they'll end up with 3 or 4 in this one, won't they? And I just know I'll hate every second if I haven't captained Salah, and he's gonna be captained by like half the game, and then I'm gonna be like on a red arrow because I've not captained Salah. So I kind of think that it's going to be a play it safe with the captaincy this season. I'm probably going to rotate mine between a couple of players all year and just play it safe, Bruno and Salah, for most of the year. Bruno, Salah, maybe Kane, depending upon how this Kane drama pans out. Anita, thank you so much for joining me today. It's been so lovely to talk to you.
Oh, thanks, Sam. It's been amazing. I won't lie. I've got nightmares already building in my mind, thinking about what I'm going to change. But we'll see.
Amazing. Guys, if you've enjoyed the video, please hit the like button. If you haven't already subscribed, hit the subscribe button. And you can drop a note in the comments and tell Anita what you think about her team. Who is she missing? Because Bruno might be coming up, I think, a bit in the comments. Amazing. Thanks, guys.